So today I wanted to make a video kind of going around the farm and looking at all the evidence of the past, the old outdated relics and antiques. So I'm gonna start by walking into one of the oldest buildings here, one of the first ones built. This was they lived here for a couple of years and then it got turned into a granary. There's still oats back there. First thing in the doorway here is an old chicken plucker that my grandpa on my mom's side actually made, because he used to butcher chickens every year when I was a kid. And before, you know, fill your freezer up. So he put this thing together. It's got rubber fingers on it. You'd hold their feet after you dunked them and pull the feathers off. Old crate, step saver, old milker buckets. These are the ones that were on display at the fair. Unless they got stuffed in here to be out of the way. Around the corner here. An old cream separator. Next to that, a Fairbanks scale. Going upstairs, must be the old cast iron stove that they used to heat this. Back on the wall. Oh, it's pretty dark. So the old horse tack. Early tractor parts. Here's more evidence. From John Deere's being the first tractors here. I recognize that as well, it's stamped JD for one, but that would have been a hot manifold for an all fuel. And the only early John Deere's would have been that unstyled A. I'll throw a couple pictures in. So what these did is the exhaust and the intake were like one piece. So it would get the intake side of it really hot, and then when you would run like distillate, kerosene, those other fuels, it would vaporize them when the engine got hot. And if I had to guess, they pulled this off because if you put a cold manifold on, you get more power out of it because your charge air or your intake air is cooler. And there's also a add power piston in the back. So I'm pretty sure they were trying to get a little more out of it. We'll walk around, hit the old machine shed and the old garage, and just kind of go through a few things. I got a couple pictures of the actual horses, the last draft horses here when my grandpa was a kid. Throw a couple pictures in. And then coming up in a future video, I think I'll do one of the first buildings in the barn. You'll see where those horses were stabled. Their nameplates are still on the beam. Cleaning out the granary. Here is the draft horse gear. These two on the left, the leather for the team, for the field horses. They were clipped together. And the one on the right here was the light horse, which would have been the buggy puller. They haven't seen the light of day in many years. Going to their new home at my aunt's. Now I'm over in a spot where looks like it was just scrap metal basically piled up. And this is an early place. See some of the early well rigging stuff. There's a seat pin attached to something. And whatever's grown into this tree, I would assume is a horse-drawn piece of equipment of some kind buried in there. Dad also dug out a drive wheel that I believe is for a pull-type sycamore. And I'll show you what's left of it and why I think that, because I found the paperwork for it in that old garage. Well, here we are a few weeks later in that same area where that horse-drawn stuff was found. The tree won't give up some of it, but this has been excavated out, dug up, see what's in there. Old blower with a flat pulley. Steel wheels. Some old pressure vessels that are riveted. Pretty heavy duty stuff. It's a random metal. Here are the remnants of something horse-drawn. Don't believe this is the rest of the that horse-drawn sickle. I'm not sure what this is. It doesn't seem to match. It's McCormick something. Seat. Here's that drive wheel I was talking about from that little piece of the junkyard. I believe this to be the drive side of a horse-drawn pull-type sycamore. Found an old brochure for one in that old garage. Another recovered relic is this Myers OK unloader. Old hay trolley for putting up loose hay. This one's been sitting a long time. Was upstairs in the granary for I don't know how long. It must have fallen or something. It's fairly damaged. And there's still one up in the haymow that I'm going to try to get down. Kind of neat. I think I'll frame it with some rough cut wood and make it a wall hanger. And I'll end this Relics video with a couple of neat pieces. Ever since I was young, I mean, before I could drive, teenager or earlier, I was always fascinated with antiques. And these were hanging in the basement of the old farmhouse for a long time. This was back when my grandpa was still around. Actually, it would have been probably mid-90s. I was just fascinated with it and asking him questions, and he ended up giving these to me when I was, I don't know, probably 14, 15 years old. And I believe these were, he said, the ones that they actually milked with. So this would have been pre-electrified barn. And this first one, this clear one, is a Dietz. Number 2 D-Light. And I did a little digging around on this. Apparently these were made from 1915 into the 1950s. They actually have date codes on them so you can decode them, but I wasn't able to quite figure out what year this would have been. American made from 2 different plants in New York. One was they stamped them M for the Maine and the S for Syracuse. And if I had to guess, I would say this has got to be 20s or 30s. And this other one is hanging with it. And this is a Paul's Leader. It's quite a bit rustier. But I thought it was pretty neat. Got them home, cleaned them up, and got them lit. That was years ago, and I've finally brought them back to my house. And this red lens kind of confused me. I didn't really know what that was about, thinking maybe that was an old signal light or something, but then I did a little reading. And I guess, just like camping lights, if you buy one today, that light doesn't wreck your night vision. It doesn't give you that blindness, or it doesn't take 20, 30 minutes to adjust. So I guess that was kind of a common thing. So if you want to maintain your night vision and be able to see outside and still see things up close, you'd use a red lens. So I'll leave you with this. I'll light them up and turn the lights off. I guess this, the red one, this Paul's Leader, there's no way to date those. They were built from the late 1800s all the way into the 40s, I believe, and then they were eventually sold out to the other company, the one next to it, the Dietz. See you on the next one.